Hey guys, so it's part 2 of my Scott's tractor fix. As you know, I've got this Kawasaki 9 horsepower FC290V engine off of that John Deere rear engine riding mower that I trashed, and I'm using the engine. As you know, this engine runs great. It needs a lot of adaptation because it's a rear engine 9 horsepower engine that was on a riding mower, not a lawn tractor, and I'm adapting it to fit sideways on the front engine bay of a lawn tractor. So I got the original John Deere RX75 throttle cable from there, adapted it to this thing here. I think I might have to cut the wire eventually because it has this big bend, you know, and then if you don't bend it right, like if it sits differently, like if you bend it too much, the throttle won't work. But right now it's loose, so throttle seems to work very well. Before I bolt this on, the reason is if I bolt this on, the oil reservoir will be pointing inside and it'll be very difficult to do an oil change. So I'm going to do an oil change now. I lifted the engine up and have the oil reservoir pointed outwards. So I'm going to open that up and drain the oil. And yes, it definitely needs an oil change. It's pretty black. So that's the oil. Pretty black. Before I fill up the oil, I put it on its side so I can kind of check out the pulley system here. As you can see, this double pulley system is probably not going to work with what I'm going to do with this lawn tractor. So I have to try to get this pulley off and see if I can fit one of those double pulleys on there. I don't know how to remove this. So after a lot of banging and chiseling, finally got that damn double pulley off. See, this pulley would never work because it's too close together. You know, it's meant for a rear engine, smaller riding mower. So that double pulley definitely wouldn't work. So now I got it off, I'm going to try to fit one of those lawn tractor pulleys on there. I hope it's the same diameter. Well, it was a pain in the balls, but finally did get this pulley on. It is the right diameter, 1 inch. So it's pretty good. I'm going to try to figure out this wiring, put some oil in it, and mount the engine bolts. So I've mounted the engine. Now nice and steady on here. I'm going to fill up the oil. Now I got to figure out this wiring over here. On this side over here of the engine, I have a white wire and a black wire. I don't know where any of it goes. So the white wire looks like that. That usually looks like the stator one, you know. Black wire, I'm thinking, is the kill switch for the magneto. It's the only 2 wires sticking out of it, so I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Because this usually looks like, you know, the plastic, what do you call it? The attachment thing. That usually looks like the stator wire. So stator wire should connect to this red wire here that goes to the battery, so it recharges the battery. Black wire is going to go to somewhere on this wiring harness, usually the yellow wire, I'm thinking, to stop the engine. And that's it, I guess. So I just need to connect these 2. Oh, I got something over here. Oh, that's to the brake switch over there. They cut that. Well, it's not going to start if this is cut, so I'm going to have to figure out where this went. In the meantime, I'm waiting for a solenoid, just so I can figure out if that ignition switch works. I'll figure that out once I find out if the solenoid works, right? So I'll get a new solenoid, hook it up, see if the ignition switch doesn't work. If it doesn't work, that John Deere has the exact same ignition switch, I'm thinking, so I'll just pop that on there and see. But we know this engine runs. Just need to hook up the stator wire and the kill switch. Put the solenoid on. I'm going to shorten this throttle cable, but it does work. And then just attach the drive pulley, the drive belt to the pulley. And I don't even know if that has a mower deck. Oh, it does. Yeah, it has a mower deck belt. That's good. So it's taking a little bit longer for me to do this project because, well, my daughter just got a baby puppy. So when they're in school and the wife is at work, guess who has to take care of that puppy? And I have no time to work on this thing. Right now the puppy's taking a nap, so I have a couple hours to fiddle with this stuff. Anyway, I'm going to fill up some oil now. So I shortened the throttle cable now. Now when I put on the hood, this cable's not going to be compressed down and then cause issues with the throttle. So here we go. I also sprayed some WD-40 on there too. It's nice and smooth. So this is choke. It's nice and smooth too. Time for some Earl. 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 And measure. Right on. So I checked the internet and I basically grounded that black wire. Got the ignition kill hooked up, but the stator I'm still not sure of. So I'm just going to let it hang here until I could start it next. I have worked out these things here, and turns out that the solenoid does work. Watch. See that? It worked the whole time. That thing wasn't grounded, so none of these circuits worked. That was the only bad thing. So I've got the ignition worked out. Solenoid works. You know, I got a new solenoid coming, but you know what? I always need those 4-post solenoids, you know? So it starts, it's mounted. Throttle is worked out. Now all I need is the fuel delivery system. So I could either just put this old Tecumseh tank here, and, you know, it'll be getting gas that way. But I ordered a fuel pump, so I'm thinking about using a fuel pump. There's a hose here, a breather hose that goes right to the valve cover area. So I'm thinking that's a pulse, right? So I'm going to hook up a hose to the fuel pump, and I'll put the fuel pump somewhere. I don't know, I'll figure out where to put the fuel pump, but that would be my fuel delivery system. So that's all I'm waiting for right now, is a fuel delivery system. And then I could start this up and see if it runs well. Remember, we've got the pulleys all sorted out. But I do have to put the drive belt and the mower deck belt on. But I'm not going to do that until I figure out if this thing all runs perfectly. Alright? Hey guys, so it's taken me like 3 days to get to this point, you know. That new puppy that my daughter got has been occupying a lot of my time. But anyway, so today, while I wait for the fuel pump to get here, I'm going to try to put the drive belt on, as well as the mower deck belt, and I'm going to do it without taking the deck off. Once I lower the deck, it looks like I have quite a bit of room to at least reach my arm in there, you know, and kind of route it through there. So I'm going to see if I can try to do it without taking the deck off. And the mower deck seems to be, you know, straight away, just loop that around the pulley, you know. It's in relatively, you know, good shape. You know, as you guys know, this was all, had some rust, surface rust, you know. I grounded off the pieces and just spray painted it orange. You know, it looks okay. Like I said, I got everything here for free, so there's no loss at all. Just gonna give it a try and see if this thing will run and mow with that Kawasaki engine on there. It has been pretty interesting dealing with the Kawasaki. I've never dealt with a Kawasaki engine before in my life. I have heard, you know, a lot of things from other people and landscapers that Kawasaki makes a pretty good, reliable engine, which is why they use them on most of those X-Mark and, you know, commercial landscaper mowers. Getting this belt around this wasn't that tough. So that's around that drive one. Routing it above that. And that idler pulley was a pain in the ass. As you can see, I had to loosen that bolt to pull that pulley down so I can get that belt through here. The clearance between that guide and the pulley was like a millimeter, so there's no way you can fit a belt through there. So you have to take that nut loose and drop the pulley down to get it in between the guide and the pulley. Now I'm going to route the rest behind the tranny pulley over there. There's a top metal cover here. This one right there. That has guides inside too. So I have to loosen that bolt right there to lift it up so I can get it around this pulley. I took this bolt off so you can lift this thing. Once you lift it, you can get the pulley, the belt over the pulley. See? So actually, you know, it wasn't all that bad. See that? So now it's kind of loose, which is what you want because I have the brake set, right? It's looped around there, and it's around there. So now when I drop the brake, can't do this by myself. Now I just disengaged the brake, and so now it's nice and tension's tight. See? The help of the spring-loaded pulley. So now with the tension tight, right? The crankshaft will drive this belt to spin the transmission. This is with the brake. See how that works? So now I'm just gonna try to slip the mower deck pulley over here, and I'm done without taking off the deck. Mower belt, the mower deck belt was very easy. You see how loose it is on here with no tension on it? It's just like flopping there. That's what the guides are for, to keep them in that area, you know. But then, once you engage the PTO, see how loose that is? The manual lever tightens it. Not that tight. Pretty tight. Especially when you're moving it around. This is how it works, see? There's the pulley. I'm going to disengage it. And that pulley goes over that way, so that loosens the belt, right? Then when you're ready to do it, you pull on the handle. That pulley moves this way, creates the tension, pulls the belt tighter. And with the rotation of that crankshaft, that kind of grips the belt and pulls it. So, it's all set. Belts are on, drive belts are on, everything seems to be good. You know, I have to wait for that fuel pump, but you know what? I'm going to attach that Tecumseh gas tank on here, and put some gas in it, and just to Just test it and see if this all works before the fuel pump gets here. So I've got the temporary Tecumseh lawnmower gas tank wired on here for time being, with a hose going directly into the carburetor so it's getting fuel. So I'm going to start it and see if it moves. Full choke. Just going to turn it. Doesn't seem to be getting any fuel or spark. I think it's getting fuel, it's just really wet right now. Just tested the spark plug and there's no spark whatsoever, none. You know, yesterday when I was testing the black wire, right, I might have hooked up a power supply to it by accident, you know, just to test, and it might have burned out the magneto. That sucks. I'm going to have to take the cover off and try to find another magneto to put on there. Otherwise, I'm not going to get any spark. I have never worked on a Kawasaki, so I highly doubt I'm going to get a magneto that fits this. I'm going to take the cover off and check out the magneto situation. Took off all the surrounding 10mm bolts around the cover, and it wouldn't come off. So it turns out I had to take the mesh screen cover off first, and 3 long Phillips bolts that went in the center here. Otherwise it wouldn't come off, you know. As a matter of fact, I still don't think it'll come off. There we go. Sons of bitches. Look at that coil, man. Where the hell am I gonna get one of those? No freaking way, bro. I don't have anything that looks like that, man. No rat's nest. I'll have to look at my bag of parts. I'm going to take off this magneto. Now, I was about to put the impact on there and just go to town on that bolt. But then I thought about it, and it's like, you know, like I haven't learned my lesson enough times. I've stripped so many bolts I couldn't even count. So because of this, how old this thing is and how rusted it looks, right? I'm afraid that if I use an impact, that bolt will just strip right off, and then I'll be screwed. You know what I mean? I'll be up the river. So I'm going to get some PB Blaster and do my due diligence, right? Let that soak for a bit. Let it marinate for a bit. I'm going to use a socket or a wrench, some wrenches, or I think the socket would be better because you can kind of estimate your own pound of torque on there. So, because if I strip these bolts, I'm screwed. You know, I don't want to mess with drilling them out of the fins here, the head, you know, because it's so delicate here, you know, and with all the rust, you just want to be safe. I don't want to make, you know, mountains out of molehills. It's already a mountain out of molehill if I have to try to find a magneto that fits this, you know. I was so lucky to be able to get this off. It wasn't really on all that tight, so with the ratchet socket I was able to remove it. What's interesting is that the wire that was attached to this is white, and it runs down here into that thingamajig over there. Alright, I thought it was a voltage regulator, so I thought that was the stator, you know, but instead it's actually not the stator but the cutoff. So this is the engine cutoff, the white one. I thought the black one, ground, black, cutoff, ground, right? you would think. But the black actually goes to the stator, you know? So I have to remember that. Black stator, white is actually the kill switch, you know? Really odd, man, you know? It's like backwards. Anyway, I kind of know why it doesn't work. Look at it. It's cracked. No. It's definitely not fixable, I don't think. It's cracked. So I'm gonna try to find a magneto that fits this. That's gonna be tough. So I'm in my bucket of parts, and the Briggs doesn't fit. Tecumseh, not even close. The holes are too in the back, too much in the back. I mean, the Briggs ones, I mean, they're around there, but you know, you'd have to drill a hole there, which would be difficult to do, you know what I'm saying? There's this one here that I took off a Long Sin, or LCT. It's a Chinese carb. And I removed it because it wasn't really getting spark, so that's why I removed it. And I replaced it with another, I think it was a Honda or something like that. Anyway, this is close. You know? It's good here, right? And then I'm off by like a millimeter there. So I'm thinking about getting a file and filing a little bit here and a little bit there. And I should be able to at least fit it on there just to test, you know? So I filed it down and it actually managed to fit now. You know, I really don't think it'll work though. It's just my feeling. But I'm gonna give it a try. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work because there's a reason why I took this off that lawnmower, you know? And I believe this is made for a lawnmower because the angles are different than the other one. You know what I'm talking about? See, there's a little bit more of a gap on this side because it's just curved differently. Because the flywheel is meant to be smaller for this instead of a bigger one. It's not like this is that much bigger, which is why it might work. Anyway, so I'm gonna see if I get spark. So I just tried it and it does not give out any spark. There's an outside chance that this might be upside down. I'm gonna flip it the other direction and see. So guess what, fellas? It's got spark. However, it won't reach now because it's too short. Son of a gun, what am I gonna do now? I just took the old wire off of the old broken one and spliced it and stuck it into the shorter one, and I just tested it and it has spark. So now I'm gonna attach that fuel tank back again and let's see if this starts up. There we go. believe it's charging. And it shuts off. Man, oh man. Did quite a bit today. Got it all straightened out. Now I just need to either discuss whether or not I want to keep the way this fuel system is, which actually kind of works pretty good, or wait until that fuel pump gets in here and, you know, hook it up to the fuel line over here, you know, and then put the hood back on. This has worked out very well. Wouldn't you guys agree? Can't believe it, man. Fantastic. So it's day 4 now. Still working on this. I've sorted out the mower deck. The belts were very loose, and sometimes when I engaged it, sometimes it worked. Sometimes when I engaged it, the belt slipped off. Sometimes it just wouldn't go at all. So basically, it had to be tightened more because it's been stretched out for so long. So I just basically moved this like an inch further out to the left. So now it works. Then I discovered that the stator doesn't work because I connected it and it doesn't work. So I also decided that I'm going to use the gas tank for the fuel because it simply wasn't getting enough fuel with the fuel pump. Because of the 9 horsepower engine, it wasn't designed to have a fuel pump, so not enough pulse was sucking enough fuel all the way from the back gas tank all the way to the front. So while it was running, when you throttled up high, it wasn't enough fuel to power it, so it was sputtering, you know. It only ran well when it was at low throttle. So I'm going to go with the gas tank. It runs fine that way. Now I want to check out the stator, but how the beep do you get this off? Have you guys seen that before? How do I get this off? Where's the nut? Crazy, man. I'm gonna look online and try to find out if anybody has taken this flywheel off. How do you get to the stator if you can't get this flywheel off? Unless there's something underneath that cover. Okay, so I banged this for a second and it kind of moved a little bit like that. So I went, oh. Why do they hide it in there? Just that easy. Love the impact. Doing it the Terrell way. Crowbar and a hammer. Boom. Boom. Needed 2 hands. There be the stator. Well, I don't really know why this doesn't work. It seems to look okay. It's connected. Contacts look pretty good. I don't see any broken wires. Magnets look good too. There's not too many boogers in it. So, I don't understand. So how about it? As soon as I was done with that other video, the mailman came, and my fuel pump came. Works like a charm. Connected the fuel pump directly to the breather hose that connects to the valve cover. And that hose was run through here, all the way to the back. So it's been going for about a minute or two now. Using the gas obviously. I mean, it's getting gas from somewhere, right? Let's try it again. Starts really nice. Adjust that carburetor a little bit.